next up, we have Jeff Strauss with us, who's going to talk through our questions as he has put his hat in the ring.
Hey, Sarah. How
Hey,
are
Jeff, long
you?
time no see.
I know. I don't think we've talked since probably since Never on the Sun closed up, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a fun adventure. I learned so much from y'all about hosting an online conference.
It was something. It was an adventure. I think that's a good word for it, but I think it came out all right.
I think it came
Well,
out great. That was awesome.
great stuff from Jerome, huh? I don't actually know him. That was pretty cool. He's got a great story, great background. It's pretty neat. I need to get to know him. That's cool.
Yeah, and I need a superhero brand.
Yeah. I can't pull off walking around with the Captain America shield. Like I don't think I couldn't pull it off. It's
Yeah.
pretty neat. It's pretty neat.
That's great. All right. Well, I'll kick off with questions. Can you tell us a little bit about why you're running to be part of the .NET Foundation Board?
Yeah, sure. I love the things the foundation does, and we know each other a little bit, and the community is a huge thing for me. I've been spending the last 10 plus years really deeply involved in the developed community, not only speaking, but running events, mentoring speakers, mentoring organizers, helping grow communities. Here where I live in St. Louis and in the Midwestern region of the United States, but also all over the world. And I think the foundation does some really good things around the open source community and around helping keep the .NET community and ecosystem around it healthy and provide some continuity. But I think there's so many more things that we could be doing well as an organization, not only from the standpoint of helping existing libraries in the ecosystem, but also making sure that maybe lesser known developers and communities find out about us, maybe authors of libraries who don't realize that they have support in a community around them to back them up, whether in .NET or even in .NET friendly, like Jerome was saying, he's not really a .NET guy by trade, but that's important too. We can support the JavaScript community and Jamstack stuff and all that. And I think it's important to help get the word out there. And because of my connection to communities, I want to do that. The other thing is, I think, and I've been having some conversations with people, I guess, over the last, I don't know, really year or more around the interaction between the foundation and industry, right? Not just open source developers, but businesses large and small, because open source is something that impacts everybody. Again, as Jerome was just saying, .NET is largely open source, more and more of it every day. And large organizations are using open source software, but they don't necessarily know what that means or how to use it well, how to contribute to it, how to feel confident being engaged in the open source ecosystem and community. I think there's a lot that we could do to engage industry and to make sure that organizations know how to interact with the developer community in a healthy way. And that's one thing I want to see us do better as a foundation.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Can you talk a little bit about your background with the .NET Foundation in general?
Sure. So I've been involved for, I don't know, a couple of years with the foundation itself, not super heavily. It actually kind of all started I was on a trip at an event, oh gosh, 2.5 years ago. It was when John Galloway was still the executive director, before Claire took the reins. And we were together at this event, and we ended up spending a day together. We were in Bulgaria, of all places. And
Wow.
but we ended up spending a day together walking around. We did this big food tour, just kind of walking the streets. It was like a really cool free food tour thing to learn about culture and everything else. And over the course of the day, not only did we talk about food, but we spent some time talking about the community and about what he was trying to do to the foundation and what he was trying to do around open source stuff. And we talked a bit, I have a background, I always say hashtag not your lawyer, but I do have a background as an attorney, and I spend a lot of time talking.
So what you're saying is all of this is legal advice?
Yeah, none of this is legal advice.
Okay.
That is exactly right. So, right. So we were talking about licenses and how to give better information to developers, help them make better choices, and help them make sure that they were protected, but also they knew how to share with the community in a proper way. And we had a few follow-up conversations over time, and then he encouraged me to join the foundation, which I did. And I've had a good number of conversations with various members and people who support open source as part of the foundation over the years. And then, of course, Dev Around the Sun was probably the largest thing I've done in connection with the foundation, along with you and Claire and a bunch of other great people. Just this past spring during the whole COVID, in the current times, whatever these are.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's great. Can you talk about your contributions to the .NET community in general? I know you've done more around conferences.
Sure. Yeah. So despite my past as an attorney, I am a developer and a cloud architect and all by trade. During my day job, I work for a company here in St. Louis called Worldwide Technology. So I do dev stuff. And I've made some contributions directly to open source over time, but really like you said, my big interaction with not only the .NET community but the developer community in general has been around events. I'm on the board of directors for KCDC, the Kansas City Developers Conference. I have been on the board along with John Mills, Lee Brandt, and Boone Lee for the last 4 or so years. Before that, I helped run an event that's called DevUp, that used to be the St. Louis Days of .NET here for about 7 years. I'm involved in running a thing called Meta Conference, which is like a think tank where we bring together organizers on 6 continents together, and we have like a little. We started it out in connection with the MVP Summit up in Redmond, but now we're trying to do it more online and bring organizers together to help grow everybody and let everybody collaborate so that we make everyone's communities and events better. I run a couple of Slack organizations, and then in the Dev Around the Sun more recently, which hopefully will repeat, although hopefully it won't still be for COVID, and we'll have some support.
Hopefully there's another reason. Just kidding.
So community stuff all around is really the name of the game for me.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Can you talk about the experience you have that lends itself specifically to being on the board? Maybe some more legal experience or
Yeah, sure. So to the point of the 2 major things that I really want to be involved in, and the impact I want to have in connection with the foundation and being on the board is I want to make sure that I use my experience as a community organizer and leader to help the foundation, help all of us get together and do more to bring communities up. And then, my legal background is not just, I'm not a practicing lawyer today anyway, but I do spend a lot of time speaking at events and teaching people and mentoring people around open source software, around intellectual property. I've even spent some time, even though it's not my day job, I've spent time working with general counsel of my own company and at other organizations, helping them to understand those things I'm talking about, where I want to see the foundation get involved in industry and see us get involved with executives and leaders and help them become better stewards of the open source community from a business perspective. I do that already today in a lot of respects, and so I just want to bring that to the foundation and lend the credibility of our organization to to help grow it.
I bet you're really helpful when it comes to licenses.
I try to be. I try to be without giving, I try to not be prescriptive about it, right? Yeah. But I think it's important to understand the distinctions and the differences. And it's so often you create like a new repo and GitHub and says, which license do you want? And there's some guidance and help, and you pick one and that's it. But I think a lot of times neither the consumers or the authors really necessarily know the reason why they choose the one they choose. Or they pick MIT because it's really permissive and it's easy, or they pick Apache because someone told them to, but I don't know how many people really spend the time, day in and day out, developers spend the time to think about that. Certainly the developers who consume the open source, who are always in a race to just sort of go and solve problems as quickly as they can. And so they search in Google, they find the first thing that solves their problem, they click go, they accept, the terms and conditions, great, and they move. And maybe that wasn't the best idea. And so the more we can educate people around that, the fewer issues we'll have seeing open source being used in industry and in the enterprise, which means the more it'll be adopted. Because when you don't have negative outcomes of people using open source, then you're going to have more and more companies and more organizations willing to use it more freely, more comfortably. Everybody grows, everybody benefits.
Yeah, that makes sense. I've been in too many meetings about licenses in the past couple weeks, but it sounds like you'd be helpful.
We did that.
Yeah. Okay. Next up, classic question, if you could pick the superpower of being invisible or flying.
Flying.
Why?
Well, a couple things. For whatever reason, I mean, being invisible seems like it'd be cool, but it also seems a little
Yeah.
shady to me. Um, but flying, I grew up. Um, I'm not a pilot, but my father is not a commercial pilot. He's like a general aviation pilot, and it was a thing that he chose to do when I was very young. So we'd have something kind of unique and special to do, like a father son. I'm firstborn, and so yeah, I don't want to ever have to the risk or the expense of flying. But if I could just swing like wave my arms and go in the sky, it's beautiful up there. You get a sense of perspective when you're up in the sky looking down at the earth that you don't get anywhere else. Um, and yeah, I wouldn't trade that for anything. Flying, hands down, hands
Same.
down.
Same. Great. Well, thank you so much, Jeff, and good luck in the coming
Thank you.
election. It's an exciting time, and
It
fingers
is.
crossed.
Thanks so much. It's great to see you, and
Great
we'll
to
connect
see
later and
you.
talk
I'm sure
licenses.
I'll talk to you soon.
That's right. All right. Take care, everybody.
Thanks. Okay, great. So head over to .netfoundation.org to find out more about the interviews of other candidates, as well as see